Welcome back to Blacks in Motion, and we're right smack dab in the middle of our fantasy mock draft here at our NFL draft special, which that's coming up May 8th. You gotta tune in. They've made it a prime time event. They wanted to make it big time. It's coming on, that first round is coming on at 7 o'clock in the evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, so you gotta definitely check it out. Now, before we go on for our second part of the draft, pick 17 through 32, we made a minor mistake, just a small mistake at pick number 13. See, a lot of people forgot when all those draft choices were traded when Washington acquired the number 2 pick to get Robert Griffin a few years back. You know, some people, got mixed up. Obviously, we were one of them. So at the 13th pick, it was the St. Louis Rams and not the Washington Redskins. But for the sake of this video and for us to go on, we're just going to go ahead and keep our mock draft the same. We still like to pick at Clinton Dix right there. Probably would have went offense there that he was saying, but hey, it's what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and let Caesar take it back over. He's going to come in with the 17th pick.
So with the 17th pick, Baltimore Ravens. Not really sure what the Ravens would do here ultimately. I know that they need help at tackle, but I kind of think that they need help at wide receiver. And some of that is because I can't stand Jacoby Jones. I think he's horrible. And I think that you have to put somebody on the other side of Torrey Smith to have a legitimate chance to get some real passing flow to your offense. And considering some of Ray Rice's off-field issues recently.
This dude.
So with the 17th pick, Baltimore Ravens, we will take from the University of Southern Cal, Marquise Lee.
Wow, that's a little high for Marquise Lee, but yes, I like that pick. I actually like that pick a whole lot. Now, not to forget, they just got Steve Smith from Carolina. Yeah. Still a very good pickup as long as Smith ain't too old or too scared to go over the middle.
Because Father Time is still undefeated.
Father Time's undefeated. Steve Smith, small, he could play the slot, but hey, who knows out there. Okay. Marquise Lee. I have to keep track now. You see my pen. I have to keep track since I'm dealing with this guy over here, this joker. All right. Coming in at number 18 with the New York Jets. Now, I think they're going to replicate their pick as far as position is concerned that they did last year. And that's at cornerback. They still are trying to figure out that secondary on the edges ever since the departure of Darrelle Revis. And they're going to go with Michigan State cornerback Darqueze Dennard. Look, he to me is kind of like Justin Gilbert. A little bit of a farther gap between them. Not so much a toss-up, but very good, very long as his position at his height, and has great cover skills, ball hawking skills, and he was just an all-around good cornerback for Michigan State. Propelled them to the Big Ten championship last year, and I think he can do some wonders for them. And again, keeping him in the green and white for the New York Jets.
Man. So, I don't even, because I had to use Zach Martin. See, because one of the things I wanted to do for the Miami Dolphins at pick number 19 was take a tackle. Because we all know about their issues with the offensive line and some of the hazing allegations and whatnot.
Right.
But because Martin is gone, I used him earlier, I'm going to take D Ford. Now, I'm not going to give you a lot of analysis or breakdown. I know that D Ford is kind of one of those fringe guys. I think that he will be solid. I think he has potential to be pretty good, maybe a Pro Bowl here and there, or he could be really bad really quickly. But one of the things I like about the Dolphins team is that their defense is well above average. So if you can continue to secure some guys who can make some plays, at least you can say, hey, man, on one side of the ball, we're taking care of our business.
Right. And I like D Ford. He kind of fell in the draft a little bit. He was a little bit more acclaimed coming straight out of the season. But I do think he's a second-round pick, but definitely a first-round talent. So coming up with the 20th pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Teddy Bridgewater. This is where Teddy Bridgewater goes because they need a quarterback to come in and take over the helm once Palmer sits down. There's many guys that could be taken at this point at the quarterback position and be a quality pick. But to me, Teddy Bridgewater still holds some quality over some of the guys like Derek Carr and some of the fast risers like Savage and other guys like that. And this is a time where you don't have to feel terribly bad about taking him at number 20 at this point in the first round. Teddy Bridgewater. Still a great guy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I take it you probably didn't have him in the first round.
I'm still trying to figure out if Bridgewater's going to get drafted.
Hey.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Teddy. I'm kidding. With the 21st pick, the Green Bay Packers. Now, see, one of the things about the Packers, they've got more chemistry issues than anything else because I think that the locker room with Greg Jennings leaving last year and kind of unveiling some of what was going on in that locker room kind of shows Aaron Rodgers to be prick may be too strong of a word, but maybe a guy who's really kind of out for himself, my way or the highway. I don't care if you like me, I'm the man. So I'm not really sure who to take here. I do like the fact that they don't really have a true backup quarterback, and they seem to do well with this whole backup QB behind the front line starter and prepare him. So this might be a shot where, again, if you're taking Teddy Bridgewater, I'll go ahead and take Derek Carr here for the Green Bay Packers just because one of the things about him, he struggles with pressure, particularly up the middle. But other than that, and excusing the fact that his brother kind of was a bust in the NFL, Derek Carr has a chance to be a suitable backup. It could be a pretty decent quarterback in the future.
I have no problem with that pick. Your concept of grooming a quarterback, is a little early for that franchise, but I hear what you're saying. If you're going with that concept, I think Aaron Rodgers has too many good years left, for them to go ahead and do that now with him. And plus, I ain't too good for the picks. I wanted him later on with one of my picks, but it's okay. He's still in my players. It's okay. So coming in at number 22 with the Philadelphia Eagles, make this real quick and simple. They need to show up their secondary. There's a solid guy at this point to draft. May not hear about him a whole lot, but he's definitely a solid cornerback, and that is Kyle Fuller from the University of Virginia. Just a great pick right there. Solid guy. He can come into your secondary, play many years for you, and possibly be a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah. With the 23rd pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs had a pretty decent year last year. Started off real high, kind of imploded towards the end. I think as the competition got better, some of their holes kind of opened up. Is Dwayne Bowe still on that team?
Dwayne Bowe is still on that team. So as long as he ain't driving no car with no... never mind.
One of the things I'd like to see Kansas City do, particularly with Alex Smith, who still hasn't really shown that he can throw a super deep ball. I like a possession receiver. So with the 23 pick, I'm out of LSU. I'm going to go with Jarvis Landry and not the higher talent guy. I think Landry as a possession guy with the size could really do some good in the slot.
You know, there's some guys that are really slipping, and I have to make sure I'm checking my list here because you go with Jarvis and Landry, possession guy, not a deep guy.
No.
Dwayne Bowe's not the possession guy because he's not the deep guy.
But Dwayne, he run the deep routes.
Okay, but Alex Smith can't throw the deep ball.
So everybody's a possession guy.
Thus the pick. Okay, I have no problem with that. No problem with that at all. He is definitely a first-round talent. Coming in at number 24, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I have my pick slotted here, but I'm looking back, and there's a couple of guys on that's left on the board, particularly our board, and I'm trying to see if they would be more valuable
Please don't take my pick.
than this guy. And I'm trying to think, what would be more important? Would they finally be able to get somebody there to help out the outstanding wideout in Cincinnati?
Yeah, him, AJ Green.
AJ Green,
yes.
Right. Now there was one guy that came on at the end of the year. It was Marvin something. I feel bad. I didn't think about it, but there was one receiver they had that came on. They might
he was huge in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
they might go ahead and put him on the other side, so they won't draft wide receiver, and those are the guys that are left on the board. So I'm going to stick with my original pick here, and I'm going to go cornerback TCU, Jason Verrett, ball hawk. Again, they drafted Kirkpatrick out of Alabama, been a bust. Had some other guys, been a bust. Go ahead and bring this guy in. Let him be a stalwart for your secondary for the next few years.
And I will say, Bengals, if you really aren't sure about what you're going to do at quarterback, if you're not really sold on your boy out there, you might want to consider taking quarterback too, because Andy Dalton, man. All right, with the 25th pick, the San Diego Chargers, we're going to stay in LSU. We're going to stay at wide receiver, and now I'm going to take Odell Beckham.
That's a good draft choice at that point. I think that guy is a little bit of a sleeper. Yeah, I think he might be a little small in stature, but think like Tavon Austin out there in St. Louis. Put him in many different situations, get him the ball, give him space, and let him go. Okay. So, at the 26th pick is actually the Cleveland Browns. Got the pick, I believe, with the trade with the running back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so this guy, at this point, I thought that the Cleveland Browns would double down at this point and find a starting quarterback of the future this late in the draft.
Okay.
But you selected Derek Carr earlier
I did.
in the draft. So I have to pick somebody else. And as I'm looking at this, I think Cleveland is one of those teams that have glaring needs everywhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with that position, and you're going to have to forgive me, world. You got to forgive me. So I didn't have this man in the first round, so I don't know his first name, but I know his last name because it's not hard to forget. Garoppolo. Quarterback. Don't have his school. Forgive me. Y'all can knock me in the head later. But Garoppolo comes from a small school. He has great mechanics. Saw him in the combine. And he's going to be a guy that you can go ahead and bring in because over there they signed Big Pen and your best friend, Vince Young, to come in and compete for a starting job with the Cleveland Browns. And they still have Hoyer. So those guys, one of those guys could start and be okay. But when you have Sammy Watkins, go ahead and bring in Garoppolo here at number 26 and groom him for the future.
But if you're choosing to bring on Vince Young, what are you really saying about your friend? Okay.
Man, just saying, it's the Browns now.
So we're on the 27th pick with the New Orleans Saints. Now, originally I had Mr. Ebron out of North Carolina here. And the only reason is not because I think that New Orleans has an issue at tight end, because obviously they do not with that stud that they have. Great. But at the same time, sometimes a 2 tight end set
could be dangerous,
a la the Patriots. So I thought Ebron would have been a good pick there. Jimmy Graham also saying that he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end anyway. Maybe they would have used the guy. But I'm going to, for the sake of argument, go with a defensive tackle. Again, out of Notre Dame, because Catholics know how to play football. We're going to go with Louis Nix III. I'm not sure if he's Catholic, but very strong defensive tackle, comes out of a good system. They had a pretty good year for last year. I think he'll be a solid guy, somebody who can come in and help out that defense that played very well last year under Rob Ryan.
Yeah, I like that pick a whole lot. Louis Nix is solid late in the first round. Coming on to pick number 28, the Carolina Panthers. Now, look, when free agency started, them dudes didn't have a clue about wide receivers. Maybe they had already looked in their crystal ball and said, hey, guys, if y'all didn't realize, the draft is deep with wide receivers. Now, because most of the quality wide receivers that I would figure they would take would be gone at this point, and I'm looking at my board here, there's one guy left, and I think we're going to go ahead and take him at this point instead of taking an offensive lineman to replace the departure of Gross, their longtime outstanding offensive lineman. And they're going to go ahead and take Brandon Cooks out of Oregon State, which some people will argue is actually the best wide receiver in the draft on some different levels. Now, I believe it's the Biletnikoff Award. He won that this past year. He's a little undersized, but definitely solid player. You won't have any bad characteristics or traits as him being a wide receiver, and I see them going ahead and him being their selection and being the future at the wide receiver position for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's a good pick. As we move forward, 29 is the New England Patriots. Now, here's the deal with the Patriots. It seems to me that they can turn nothing into something at every single position, whenever, wherever, it doesn't matter. Injury, they find a way to stay competitive. Sorry wide receivers, they find a way to turn those guys into superstars. Defense, they find a way to make sure that they bend just enough that they don't break. But when they bend, sometimes they bend forward and they end up making great plays. So, because it's a mock draft and because it's the Patriots with the 29th pick actually will give their pick, not trade it away. They'll give their pick to the Cleveland Browns so the Browns can draft somebody else that they don't need. I don't really have somebody that I feel like the Patriots, because I think that they can take anybody at this point. Pick a name, any name. Who would you have taken there?
If I was the Patriots, I would take somebody that, I believe Will Fork re-signed. They are used to having that guy in that position. A young version of him, Rashid Hageman out of University of Minnesota. Big guy, run stopper. You can put him into one technique if you had to put somebody there. But you're right. Nothing into something at this point. I can see them guys drafting almost anybody at this point doing that. But that's somebody
that's a good pick.
They really want to re-sign Vince Wilfork. I didn't see them not doing that. But because they don't want this situation to arise again, go ahead and get somebody young in there, get him under Wilfork's tutelage, and have him go.
See, That's Cliff and him being savvy. This is why this guy's here, why he's been holding down for Blacks in Motion, because he's savvy.
Hey, don't try to butter me up now. You destroyed my mock draft earlier. So anyway, pick number 30. The San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco's been having some problems with their secondary getting away. Let alone Alden Smith is the biggest problem known to man. But we're not even going to talk about that. Alden, stay out the airport, brother. We love you. Stay off the edge of the quarterback. Stay out the airport. I promise you. Stay out the treatment center, all that. It's all good. It's all good. I promise you. So check it out. San Francisco 49ers, front seven defense, good. Secondary has been changing a little bit. What we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to go Bradley Roby out of Ohio State. Now, you know, he kind of follows this pattern of outstanding talent, fickle characteristics, off the field characteristics and things of that nature. But at this point, I think it's a good enough gamble. He's a high first round draft pick talent. Again, they can go ahead, sell them up. They've been kind of shuffling cornerbacks, Culliver, Brown, and all that. Go ahead and get somebody else in there to go along with Reed. Excellent, excellent draft choice last year out of LSU. And you have two stalwarts in your secondary for the future.
Yeah. Gotta wonder, though, a sketchy character guy in San Francisco right now, they might want to
draft. As long as his locker ain't next to Alden Smith, we good, man. We good.
They might want to draft a psychiatrist. With the 31 pick, the Denver Broncos take a wide receiver because they just lost Eric Decker. I'm going out to Clemson, and I'm going to take Martavius Bryant.
Wow.
I like him. ACC.
Yeah.
Slot guy. Big guy, kind of big, 6'1", 6'2" area, got good hands. I mean, may not be the best wide receiver in the draft, but it's not like they're hurting for wide receivers. But, I mean, you like a guy that you can slip in, catch a ball or two, because Peyton's going to fling it around.
Right. I can agree with that. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Definitely, if you go there, if they pick him there, Bryant goes there, he better be ready. Because the man with the bad neck, and I thought with the loosey-goosey arm, he's going to throw you the ball. Don't even worry about it.
Definitely going to throw it.
Now, to conclude the round, the 32nd pick, Super Bowl champs, Seattle Seahawks. I actually had Su'a-Filo. Yeah, Xavier, the offensive lineman from UCLA going in, but you took him high.
Yes.
That was something that I think that they really needed. I don't think that they need to reach. And at this point, they have a few guys that are attractive, very attractive, like Coney Ely out of Missouri.
Okay.
Defensive end, they always don't. You can always draft to back up, the guys that you got starting in the defense to shore up that defense they have. But I see one guy that's left on the board that's very attractive. It was a position they tried to attend to last season. Mm-hmm. They were even considering getting your boy out of Green Bay, even with the bad neck. They was gonna bring him in and have him go and do everything. They didn't know what his future was like. So now the guy you passed on earlier, with the 32nd pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Eric Ebron out of the University of North Carolina, another weapon to go along with Percy Harvin, and we saw what type of impact he had for the team once he came back healthy, and with a smart quarterback like Russell Wilson, you can just imagine the dangerous positions that he could put defenses in with somebody, a weapon like Eric Ebron at the tight end position.
Can't knock that. That's a very strong pick. And that concludes the round of 32.
Concludes the round of 32. So I'm hoping you went on ahead and stuck in here with us with that second piece of the draft. We're going to come back, close it out, and we're going to end the segment on some sleepers and maybe a couple other highlights out of the draft. Wrap it up real quick, but go ahead and stay logged on with us right here at Blacks in Motion. Welcome back to the final segment, our outro of the Blacks in Motion edition here of the mock draft 2014 NFL. Like I said, I have my partner in crime back with me. It's been lovely. We want to go ahead and talk about a final few things concerning the draft. I said sleepers earlier. I have a sleeper pair. You really don't have a sleeper pair, but you have a sleeper scenario. So go ahead and lay that out for us right quick.
So the history of the Atlanta Falcons over the last 5 years or so has been very active from a trade standpoint during the draft, right before the draft. I mean, this is the same team and the general manager currently who traded their entire draft a few years ago to draft Julio Jones. Now, I don't know that they'll do that this year, but there's a lot of rumors circulating that maybe they'll try to make some moves to get with the Texans and go after Jadeveon Clowney, or at least that number one position. Now, That, I think, would be an ideal place for the Texans because maybe you're able to get some players, get some other positions of need, and still get a high draft pick of need. You know you could probably get another quarterback later in the draft. I think that the Texans definitely will listen to all comers, but the Falcons have been known to make some splash, especially on draft day. I can see a scenario where they trade up to maybe get Klein because they do need an edge rusher.
Yeah, I like that scenario too. For the Texans, again, I'm a Cowboy fan, but I do rep all Texas, and I do like the Texans. That would be a smart move. That would be a smart move. Pick up some other talent, maybe pick up some other draft choices, and you still, according to his mock draft, could possibly still get Johnny Manziel at number 6. Who knows? But it could be a lucrative move for both of those teams.
Absolutely.
Now, talking about sleepers, I'm going to talk about one player in particular, and that's Pierre Desir. Now, of course, you haven't heard of him. Why? Because he's a sleeper, and he's my sleeper, so of course you don't know, but he's a cornerback out of small Linwood College.
Huh?
In Missouri, man, I don't know, man. I don't even know if they got a website or not. That's just the way they say he go. I don't know. But the thing about it is that the school might not be well known.
Yeah.
But by the time the Senior Bowl came, you knew about his talent. This guy, 6'1", 200 pounds, cornerback. Little slow, sub 4.5 40, but the guy's length is ridiculous. He's 6'1". He's kind of built like Richard Sherman.
Okay.
You know, that type of closing speed, but not just flat out speed. But this guy was a man amongst boys in Division II. I mean, he looked like a stud, and when he was going up against draft day talent, he still looked like a stud. We're talking about interceptions, turning over the ball, man coverage. But I mean, you call it, he has it. And one of it is because of his length. He has great range. Look for this guy to possibly go as high as round number 3, but that's not the issue about how high he's gonna go.
Wow.
Whatever team gets him is getting a grade A baller. Period. Point blank, period.
Never heard of him.
Point
Didn't even know Linwood existed.
You heard it here. Pierre Desir. Keep that name on your
Take
ears.
that to Vegas. If you don't take nothing else from the show, maybe take that one to Vegas. Don't take the earlier mock to Vegas. You'll lose your money. Now, one thing that we didn't do, I was reflecting on this, we did not take a running back in our mock draft. 32 teams, no running back. Now, I mean, as you mentioned, we come from an era of running backs being drafted.
Hey, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, hey, you name it, they were there.
I mean, but I guess it kind of makes sense when you consider the pass-happy league that we're in, the focus on making sure that you having the type of secondary and pass rushers to kind of contain that pass-happy. There's a lot of dual back sets. I mean, they're trying to preserve the life of the running back, so maybe you don't need that standout guy. I mean, Adrian Petersons don't come along every day, so it's kind of a shocker, but then maybe it's not really that big of a shock.
Yep, so no running backs in the first round is a trend that we're going to probably start seeing here soon. You know, we're going from running backs and quarterbacks to where even if you're not just an outstanding franchise caliber quarterbacks are starting to kind of fade a little bit. Now we're starting to get pass rushers, receivers for the pass happy league. I guess time dictates agenda, and right now passing that football is the agenda in the NFL. But like we said right here at Blacks in Motion, make sure you tune in to the draft May 8th, Thursday night, prime time. Check it out. I hope you took notes. You can always hit the rewind button, skip back in whatever you're watching us in, YouTube, on a player, whatever. Take down and just them guys don't know what they talking about.
I definitely don't.
Even though he claims he doesn't know what he's talking about, again, I like to thank him for coming out. Made it feel like old times again.
It was fun.
Great knowledge and everything like that. And again, this is just a mock. You may think that we'll have it totally upside down. Maybe you think 6 running backs should have gone in the draft. Maybe you think Johnny Manziel shouldn't get drafted at all with Teddy Bridgewater, according to him. Either way, you can hit me up at my email, cliff@blackvideonews.com. And as always, you're always welcome right here at Blacks in Motion. Stay logged on and love us right here.